Ruby Speaks, Chapter 4, Green Ribbon. Do you know anything about the color green? Have you ever thought about its thorough beauty? I have lived in 2 countries in my life. I want to visit Mary in North America, but it will not happen. I will not see snow, touch it or taste it, but I know the color green. I know the long, slender leaves of mango trees, the shades varying as the slant of the sun changes, the soft and tangy-looking lime green, with the touch of shadow as the afternoon wanes, the rich and deep dark hue that eases slowly back and forth as some flippant leaves play in the twilight hours. And I know the green of coarse grass, the green acidic and intense of lime, of aloe, of cactus, of croton, and so many tall, tall trees that reach to the sky, to the blue above. I know, too, the green bile that rose to my throat the day I was told that my little brother was dead. Bernard! Calling out, calling Mary that son of a bitch. Mom's not getting mad at his swearing, his sweet and silly lisp. She had only eyes for that little boy, and when she came back home without him in her arms, but with his little brown stuffed dog and the frayed blue baby blanket thrown over her shoulders, I felt the green of bile rise. Though I wanted to, I did not, and I could not hug her. I felt like a big gaping hole of a disappointment. I felt cursed with the fact of the air that I still breathed. I looked at her. She looked at me. "Did you clean the kitchen like I asked you to?" The words floated from her mouth, her sad eyes cold, dead. "Yes, Mums," I answered. "Bernard is dead." She said this standing with her eyes straight ahead, no tears, not a tremor in her voice. She went to her little bedroom with the little brown stuffed dog in her hand. She shut the door and did not come out for 1 month. Her sister, my Auntie Scylla, came by each day. She gave Mary and me orders about cleaning and cooking. She told us how to feed the dogs, when to let them loose, when to tie them up. She then went to the kitchen to prepare cogue, the sweet milk drink, where milk is scalded upon the stove in a saucepan, poured into a mug, cooled slightly, an egg and some vanilla essence and sugar added. The lot mixed together, strained in a small sieve to remove the eggy clumps. Aunt Scylla said that cogue was full of goodness. She made one and took it to Mom's first thing in the morning and last thing before bed. Once I saw, though I know I was not supposed to see, Auntie Scylla take a bottle of the high wine from the top shelf of the safe in which dry goods were kept and pour a dollop into the cogue, disappearing with the mixture to Mums's room. Sometimes she would emerge a few moments after. At other times she would be there hours. Mary and I guessed that they had some secret sister ritual that was to be performed after a baby died. Dad was not allowed in at those times. Unlike Mary, I was not terribly curious about the conversation that took place between Mums and Auntie Scylla. I never pressed my ear to the door, nor did I ask my aunt about Mums. I felt full of sadness, full of remorse, full of guilt for being alive, full of fear. Perhaps my appendix would burst in me too. Perhaps I could have saved him somehow. I cleaned harder, cooked better, read more, when I had the time, and I learned to love green. I have met people who love blue, who love yellow, who love red. But on that day when Mums came home with the news of my little brother's death, I walked slowly and deliberately to the end of our long, narrow yard. I walked past the dogs. I walked past the long back steps, past the soury trees, the five-finger trees, the sorrel bush. I walked in front of the blue-coloured outhouse and went to sit on the little stone perch I had made for myself. Instead of pulling my novel out from under its hiding place, I sat down and wept, and wept, and wept, and wept. Tears of great anger and great frustration spilled from my eyes. Time seemed to stop. I knew that on that day I would not get into any trouble for not doing my chores well or fast enough. I knew there would be no yelling, no reprimanding, no sounds. Little Bernard was dead. His funny little lisp, his blonde hair that fell like a halo about his face, the blue eyes that stared into my own dark brown ones. None of these fragile. And up till now, everyday normal aspects of his appearance would never be seen by me again, only in my memory. I had never even thought about memory before, never imagined that my life would change. It was the sound of feet walking up to the outhouse that pulled me from my thoughts. I felt conscious of my tears. I felt conscious of my private emotions spilling over, being noticed. Before I had time to compose myself, a pair of chubby hands were around my neck. A green satin bow tight around brown curls was all I saw of my little sister, as she hugged me tightly, leaning against my neck. "It's okay, Ruby. It's okay. He's with the angels, where he belongs." I cried harder. She held me for what seemed like an eternity. I hugged her too. The sad memory of my baby brother is forever touched by the color green, by the bow that Mary wore when she comforted me on that day that marked my first ache at death, at profound, profound loss.